Hi there, welcome to the Solana Wyckoff Technical Analysis session. In the last session we talked about Solana is approaching a breakout area, and then this Monday, the past Monday, the breakout happened. So let's take a look and see what exactly happened for Solana. Here we're seeing the weekly chart, and basically we see this big candle upwards that's challenging the previous upthrust level. Currently it retraced a little, but then it hasn't finished yet. So as of this moment, this UTAD challenge is still on, and that's somewhere above the purple key level of $260. And one caveat here is, even if it's going to challenge that level, be mindful that there are immediate backtracking from the peaks. So we know after buying climax there will be automatic reaction over here. Usually in other charts, I haven't updated in Solana, I would put in something called the AR2 for upthrust. So it's the same thing, automatic reaction, but relevant to the upthrust, so you can differentiate YO at the same time correlate to what I'm talking about. And then for upthrust after distribution, we don't know whether this is exactly UTAD yet. It can just be a second test because currently it's still below the upthrust. If it is, then I'll call that an AR3, meaning after the green candles there would be possibly some kind of track back of prices. So I think this is not a sign of weakness. It's actually the bottom of the automatic reaction. So for an upthrust after distribution, the more solid support would be the 210, the blue T level, if it's really coming down for an automatic reaction. So as of now, while the price is still climbing, expect something to happen very quickly towards the downside, while there may be a chance that it pops up for a second peak, much like what happened in November 24 and January 2025. That's the caveat over here. Even the price is climbing, things may turn south quickly, and then there may be subsequent rebound. And one more thing here is this upward channel that started since somewhere around March has broken through by this week's action. So the tendency of this, if there's sufficient support from the community or the traders, what would happen is it may stay above this upper line, the upper edge of the channel. So now this channel ceiling has become a support line basically. So if the price continues to trade between the purple and this line over here, you already see there's a triangle, right? So that cross section is somewhere in the beginning of next year, around mid-January. If it really stay that long, because there are still about 4 months time, so October, November, December, January, there's still 4 months time before we get close enough to that point. So assuming there's no crazily good or bad news that it trades this way, eventually by the end of the year or beginning of next year, a breakout will happen. So that's probably the point where the big guys will decide, okay, are we going to push the price back into this channel, or are we going to push it up to form an actual upthrust after distribution? So that's the scenario one where it doesn't break above the purple key level for another 4 months. But if there are sufficient good news to sell to the small fishes to cause people to FOMO in, then that's another story. It will happen much sooner, break above this, But then it doesn't mean it cannot come back to this triangle. So in the end, it can still come back and trade within this triangle. And by the end of the year, or like beginning of January next year, that decision has still need to happen, basically. And if they have sold out all the good news so soon, by that time there may be not enough good news to support the price to stay above the purple level. So it may come back down to the this channel box. So that's the big picture. And let's go into the daily and see what's going on at the micro level. This should be the size. Okay, where have I got it from? This guy. Okay, make it 28 as well. Let's go to the daily, because the Bollinger Band corner squeeze, after this week's move, it's going to release quite a bit of the squeeze force. So here you see the purple is deviating from the orange. This guy as well going outside of the orange. So it's not much to say in the weekly. Daily, obviously, much more obvious. The purple has gone outside the orange, and the squeeze force gathered during or since late August has obviously now starting to get released. So back to Wyckoff. Here we previously asked this question: were those upthrust, or like what actually is this period, right? So I've got a hypothesis that's not labeled in the traditional Wyckoff analysis. Well, likewise for these AR2s, nobody is naming it that way. But for me, it's easier for me to understand what's happening over there. That's similar to the buying climax period. Let me switch off this Bollinger Band corner squeeze. So basically, here, I just want to borrow this tag, because that should be a PSY period, right? And what's interesting over there is, if I bring it over to this point, this chunk of activities, it's somewhat similar to the PSY period prior to the buying climax, where there would be some form of horizontal trading, much like what happened here back in April, May this year, just a few months back. So instead of calling it PSY, I'll probably call it PSY2. So it's not actually an obvious peak, but more like a plateau or platform period before it goes or heads to the actual peak. So this is more like the upthrust to me. Well, that was a PSY2 corresponding to this peak. And in the last session, I must have done this. I won't have a pennant here without talking about it. So we have drawn this pennant last session, or even before last session. I'm not going to remember because I'm doing like 20-ish sessions a week. So what we discussed would be this cross-section area. So September 14th, exactly today, but then I always mention a breakout doesn't wait until that cross-section to happen. And indeed this Monday, well, last Sunday was still there, but this Monday, September the 8th, the breakout happened, and it broke out to the upside. So there are some analysts buying to the theory that if a price enters a pennant from the from down up, it will eventually break towards the same direction. So this time they are right, but sometimes that doesn't apply. So if you see those kind of claims, you can keep that in mind, but be mindful there are exceptions. So, well, if you keep following me, you'll see eventually that will happen, that even if it comes from down up, it can go back to the downside. So this one hits the that theory, but that's not 100% the case always. So okay, now we have broken outside of this pennant, right? And then this upward momentum is still going on. However, the volume, especially after Friday, I don't know why, is it like because a lot of people are happy about the weekend coming, suddenly there was a surge, but then except Friday is basically a declining trend for the volume. So that's why I said in the weekly chart, be mindful of the automatic reaction coming. So I call this AR2. I'll put this a question mark over here. LPSY, too early to tell. Maybe there will be a rebound and then eventually that turns into an LPSY. That's why I'm going to keep that there. Sign of weakness, it happened over here. And I'll just put it right there. It may be very far from now if nothing crazy happens, like the very negative news comes out, then this will happen much sooner. But right now I'll put it somewhere around November. After this climb, potentially challenging the purple key level, eventually sooner or later we'll come back to the later stage of the distribution cycle and we'll hit the phase D sign of weakness. So volume covered, breakout covered. So always look for these trend lines to help you like see where the potential breakout would happen or when the potential breakout will happen. As of now, yeah, big picture perspective, already mentioned the date, about end of this year, early January next year. If the price continue to trade between the purple key level and the ceiling of this upward channel box, that's when the breakout would happen. Again, if it doesn't, if it like happens in this way sooner, like going down back into the channel box, then that's another story. So still, it would be near the end of December if it stays above the center line of the box and trading between the purple key level, the blue key level, and this center line. So Solana still have its positive run towards the upwards of the distribution, but be mindful of the immediate price retracement after it reaches the peak. So always keep your